Chaplain Grimaldus is the current High Chaplain of the Black Templars, the zealous sons of Rogel Dawn, and the successors of the Imperial Fists chapter of Space Marines. He is a veteran of many successful crusades, marching into battle alongside his valiant warriors, bolstering their strength and resolve. Even his mere presence can help to turn the tide of an ill-fated battle. Grimaldus was once the youngest sword brother in the history of the Black Templars. His unrelenting faith and devotion to the chapter contributed greatly to his swift progression into the Reclusium following the Battle of Fire and Blood, the last major battle of the Vinculus Crusade. The battle saw the Black Templars, led by High Marshal Ledoldus, united with the Sisters of Battle, led by Inquisitor Vinculus, fighting against the Chaos cult that had arisen on the planet of Pelegaron IV. The High Marshal personally led a force of 30 of his own sword brethren, including Grimaldus, to hold the main gate of a cultist stronghold during the assault. Hours of constant fighting allowed the Imperial forces to eventually breach the main gate and begin to take control of the fortress. Inquisitor Vinculus confronted the cultist leader, removing his head with a single strike of his power sword. This, however, would be the Inquisitor's undoing, as the cultist was host to a greater demon of chaos. Upon his death, the foul demon emerged and possessed the weakened Inquisitor, transforming him into a twisted entity of the warp. Angered and thirsty for blood, the demon began tearing its way through the Imperial forces, killing Canoness Jasmine and the Emperor's champion in a brutal rampage. Luckily, High Marshal Ledoldus was saved by Grimaldus and several of his sword brothers who intercepted the monster's assault. This bought the High Marshal enough time to rally his forces and launch a counterattack, vanquishing the hellish creature from the material realm once and for all. In the aftermath, the Black Templar chaplain saw great potential in Grimaldus, foreseeing that he would become a powerful warrior priest, and so they inducted him into their ranks. The young chaplain was now a novitiate of the Reclusium and took his vows before the Shattered Sword of Dawn aboard the Eternal Crusader, the Black Templars' flagship. He would then be trained under the wise counsel of High Chaplain Mordred himself, and go on to lead the warriors of the Black Templars into battle in the Emperor's name. Throughout the years of conflict, Grimaldus has suffered horrific wounds that would threaten to end most warriors, but has always remained defiant and has refused to give in. Unlike many chaplains, Grimaldus prefers to instill courage and inspiration to his battle brothers through his actions, bravely charging into the thick of the fighting, rather than relying solely on uplifting prayers and litanies. On rare occasions when Grimaldus spoke, his voice commanded the absolute attention and respect of his fellow crusaders, and not a single word went unheard. His words would invoke such courage and vigour that many hopeless situations were soon converted into a victory. Eventually, High Chaplain Mordred, Grimaldus' mentor, fell in battle against the forces of chaos, and, with his final breath, named Grimaldus his successor and elevated him to the rank of High Chaplain. In battle, Grimaldus wields an Artificer Crozius, a sacred weapon that serves as both a powerful close combat weapon and a symbol of the Emperor's sacrifice. He also carries a plasma pistol for incinerating the impure with superheated blasts of energy. His helm resembles the iconic skull shape worn by many chaplains, which is designed to invoke fear into the opposition as the Emperor's wrath is swiftly brought upon them. His armour is imbued with Holy Crusader seals, which have been bestowed upon him for his previous acts of zeal and courage. Grimaldus is also protected by a symbolic device called a Rosarius, which houses a protective conversion field emitter. This powerful force field helps to protect him from attacks that might pierce straight through his power armour or the unbreakable strength of his own will. Chaplain Grimaldus is perhaps best known for his efforts at the Battle of Helsreach, on the war-torn world of Armageddon in the closing years of the 41st millennium. High Marshal Helbret dispatched 3 Black Templar Crusade forces to Armageddon in response to a massive Orc invasion of the Hive World by Warlord Ghazghkull Thraka. Under direction from the High Marshal, Grimaldus was to reinforce the Hive city of Helsreach, and was given command of one of the Crusades, which was bolstered by the 101st Armageddon Steel Legion Regiment of the Astra Militarum and Battle Titans of the Legio Invigilata. Grimaldus was already a battle-hardened warrior and gained extensive campaign experience, leading over 100 of his Templars into some of the most horrific battles to take place on Armageddon, but the forthcoming conflict would push him to the very limits of endurance. After clearing out a group of Orcs from the wreckage of a looted Space Marine strike cruiser which had crash-landed near Helsreach, the Black Templars moved to occupy the Hive City and prepared themselves to defend its ancient walls. The Hive City came under siege from hordes of rampaging Orcs who swarmed its perimeter defences from the ice fields to the far south. This large-scale assault would begin the bloody Battle of Helsreach. Despite being vastly outnumbered, the Black Templars stood their ground and concentrated their defence at the Temple of the Emperor Ascendant. As sector by sector of the vast Hive City was overrun and swamped by the merciless Green Tide, the temple became one of the main bastions of resistance against the seemingly unending horde of Xenos. The temple had stood on Armageddon since the earliest days of the Imperium's expansion, and Grimaldus would not allow its great halls to be besmirched by these foul beasts so easily. The Orcs continued to press the attack with brute force and surrounded the ancient temple on all sides. The Imperial defenders managed to hold out for almost 2 months, driving the Orcs back with disciplined firepower and furious melee attacks. But despite their refusal to yield, the Greenskins finally broke through the perimeter walls. With their defensive lines crumbling, the remnants of the Astra Militarum forces began to lose hope. Their morale was shattered. As they began to flee, the sound of Grimaldus' bellowing voice echoing through the great halls of the temple filled the retreating soldiers with a renewed hope and courage. With all his forces rallied together, Grimaldus led a final, bloody charge into the Orcs at the heart of the temple. As the two forces clashed, the very structure of the building began to crumble and collapse, turning the entire area into a maelstrom of rubble and fire. The next day, as the smoke and dust settled, a single hero emerged from the rubble. Chaplain Grimaldus had survived, battered but unbroken. With the miracle of his survival, Grimaldus ensured that the last remaining relics of the temple were salvaged, and vowed that the lives of those who had fallen in the defence of Armageddon would be forever remembered. Following the battle for Helsreach, Chaplain Grimaldus was gifted with the title Hero of Helsreach in honour of his valiant and heroic efforts. Today, a group of Cenobite servitors accompany Grimaldus when he goes into battle, carrying the recovered artefacts. A column from the major altar, blessed water from the stoop of elucidation, and the remnants of the banner of the Emperor Victorious were all that remains of the Temple of the Emperor Ascendant. In the carnage of war, faith and devotion can be a powerful ally, a fact that Grimaldus knows well. These precious relics act as symbolic reminders that glory and honour are bought only through sacrifice and determination, and they are carried into battle to inspire the Black Templars to ever greater heights of zeal.